Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In the UFC 261 co-main event, Weili Zhang gets KO'd by Rose Namajunas. Absolutely spectacular performance by Rose. She catches her with the head kick, drops her. She's pretty much out at that point, follows up with some ground and pound. The referee gives Weili every opportunity possible to recover, but it's just not happening. Lands 3, 4 ground and pound strikes, and the referee pulls her off. And Rose Namajunas just does it again. And when I say does it again, I mean she went into that fight, a couple years ago and beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk first round KO. I think it was a left hook that landed. Most people were counting Rose out in both of these fights. I particularly picked Rose in the Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight a couple years ago. I was one of the very few people to do that. I've always been high on Rose. I said that in my pre-fight video for this fight. But I picked against her in this fight. I picked Weili Zhang. I thought Rose would probably win the first, maybe the second round. And as she started to accumulate damage, she would potentially, start to fade and potentially get finished in the later rounds by Weili. And Weili was looking good early on. I mean, she was landing a lot of inside leg kicks. She was outlanding Rose. Not a lot really happened. It was only a minute and 15 seconds. And Rose just, it's crazy, man. She landed that perfect head kick and just absolutely sleeps Weili. But the fact remains, there was some talk at the post-fight presser. They're probably going to do a Rose Namajunas versus Weili Zhang rematch, which I personally have no problem with. But the question remains, does Weili deserve this immediate rematch with Rose? And the answer is probably no. She won her title against Jessica Andrade, and then she only defended her belt once against Joanna Jędrzejczyk in a very close split decision fight of the year. Either girl could have won that fight, and then she lost her belt. She got KO'd in the first round. What about that says that she deserves an immediate rematch? Again, I have no problem with this fight, but I'm just saying to people to act like she undoubtedly deserves this rematch. Dana White was acting like she definitely deserves it. A lot of people were saying she does. And don't get me wrong. Again, I want to see this fight. I want to see it rematched. I think it can go a lot differently in the second time around. Rose obviously just caught her with a perfect kick and put her to sleep. I think Weili can fight a lot better than that. I think, maybe she was just caught with it was just Rose's night, But when you really think about it and you look at the landscape of the women's strawweight division, you have Carla Esparza fighting Yan Xiaonan at the end of May, I believe it is. And arguably one of the winner of that fight could potentially be next in line for the strawweight belt. I mean, Weili may have to sit out a little while, want to take a rest, take a vacation. She's just been brutally KO'd. And also you have the built-up storyline. Carla Esparza and Rose Namajunas were on the season of Tough, where they did a season of The Ultimate Fighter. And the finalist of that season fought for the inaugural women's strawweight belt. And the two finalists was Carla Esparza versus Rose Namajunas. And Carla Esparza took Rose down at will and just beat her. I haven't rewatched that fight in a long time, but she just beat her, pretty soundly, if I remember correctly. I thought she won every round, if I remember correctly, but I could be a little bit off on that. Either way, Carla Esparza won pretty, dominantly. And I think potentially the winner of that fight, especially if it's Carla, they could potentially do the Rose Namajunas rematch. It would be Rose versus Carla Esparza 2 for the women's strawweight belt. And that's an interesting matchup considering Carla beat her in the past. Rose has gotten a lot better. Carla maybe even seemed to have regressed a little bit. But if Yan Xiaonan wins, she's on she's a decision machine, but she's on a pretty, long win streak in the UFC. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-fight win streak by Yan Xiaonan. So, I mean, she's a decision machine, but she's fought a lot of, decent women's strawweight. She's beat Angela Hill. She beat Carolina I can't even say her last name. She beat Claudia Gadelha. And if she were to put Carla Esparza on the resume, then she could potentially have a claim to the women's strawweight belt. And when you look at Rose, I never even thought of this until now. She could arguably, and probably is right now, and again, this can change a lot. She may be the women's strawweight GOAT as it stands right now. She's beat every champion there ever was. As far as she beat Joanna, she beat Jessica Andrade, and she beat Weili. Again, now I messed up. She did not beat Carla Esparza, who technically was the champion, but she's beat the three, best girls in the division. I think Carla Esparza was just a matchup nightmare for her at the time. And maybe she can go, again, she can maybe go avenge that loss. It'd be an interesting matchup. But I think the UFC is probably going to do the Weili Zhang rematch just because Weili Zhang, they've put so much promotion behind her. She's the face of China MMA. China's a massive market. I mean, there's billions of people there. and the UFC is trying to tap into that revenue by promoting some of their fighters. And Weili is an absolute animal. She's nasty. I really thought she was going to beat Rose. I was wrong. I should have went with my instinct of Rose is going to win the first 2 rounds. Well, maybe she's going to KO her in the first 2 rounds like she did to Joanna. So it's just crazy to me. When you look at Rose's resume, she beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice. She's beat Michelle Waterson. She lost to Jessica Andrade in a fight she was winning because she got slammed on her head, but then she came back and beat Jessica Andrade to earn a title shot against Weili Zhang. Then she comes in and head kick KOs Weili Zhang out in the first round. Absolutely incredible. So I don't know. I think that, it's okay if the UFC does the rematch. Again, I'm not complaining. I would love to see that fight. But if Weili has to sit out for a little while, Rose, she didn't get touched in that fight. She ate a couple inside leg kicks, but she didn't take any significant damage in the fight. She can probably turn around quickly. You have the Carla Esparza, Yan Xiaonan fight happening at the end of May. Maybe the winner can fight Rose over the summer. I see there's no reason to keep the division moving. But also, I wanted to kind of say my opinion on, does Weili really deserve a rematch? There's been far better champions, longer reigning champions who have lost and not got a rematch. I mean, look at Jose Aldo, reigned over the division forever, gets KO'd by Conor McGregor in the very first round, 13 seconds. He didn't get a rematch. So I guess just because the UFC wants it, they'll do it. Maybe, for the reasons I mentioned, she's the face of China right now, China MMA, and they want to really tap into that market. But there's so many different ways the strawweight division can go right now. You could arguably give Joanna a title shot right now. I mean, that Weili Zhang fight was so close, and it was a great fight. Either girl could have got that division. So you could potentially have Rose versus Joanna 3. Now, I doubt the UFC goes that route, but they could. I mean, there's no bad matchups here at all. Jessica Andrade is probably going to go back down to strawweight. I don't see any reason for her to stay at flyweight after what Valentina Shevchenko did to her. I don't think there's any way she can rebuild and potentially get a rematch for Valentina Shevchenko. And would she even want that? I don't think so. And would anybody want to see that? I don't think so. So you have a lot of fun possibilities. I think the women's strawweight division is the funnest division as far as women's MMA. I was going to say WMMA. But so we'll see what we get next. Rose Namajunas, Weili Zhang, maybe Rose Namajunas, Carla Esparza. Maybe Rose Namajunas, Yan Xiaonan. I hope I'm saying her name right. It's hard. So I'm terrible at pronouncing some of these names. But let me know what you think should happen in the women's strawweight division right now. I'm interested to see what matchups you want to see. Are you absolutely dying for the Weili Zhang rematch against Rose? Or is there some other matchup that you want? Because I'm not really sure. I would love any of these fights. Any fight that you give me, I'm happy with. Rose versus Carla, Rose versus Weili, Rose versus Joanna 3. Which is crazy. There would be a trilogy in a fight that she won both of the original fights. KO'd her in the first fight, and then in the rematch, she won by decision. Some people thought Joanna won that rematch that went to decision. Some people thought Joanna won that. But it was a unanimous decision for Rose. And I thought Rose won that personally. So we'll see. Strawweight division is a lot of fun right now. Rose just shook things up. I have no idea. I think Weili was probably going to fight, maybe Joanna, the rematch after that amazing first fight, maybe fight her again if she were to win dominantly. Or it could have been the Carla Esparza, Yan Xiaonan again. So let me know what you think in the comments. Please, if you do anything, just like the video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.